There was a time when homes didn't just look beautiful, they felt cared for. In the 1950s, housewives were quiet geniuses of home maintenance, keeping everything spotless, sturdy, and shining without a single smart gadget or fancy brand. They had a fix for every squeaky hinge, a shine for every surface, and a way to make things last that we've long forgotten. These weren't chores, they were acts of love, of pride, of craft. Today we're opening the door to that timeless wisdom. 30 home maintenance secrets from the women who made the ordinary extraordinary. You'll be surprised how their simple, clever methods can still outsmart modern hacks, and maybe inspire you to bring a bit of that. Here's a 1950s morning ritual that might surprise you. Housewives didn't make the bed right away. They left it wide open. Sounds odd, right? But it wasn't laziness. It was hygiene. Every morning, they'd pull back the covers and let the sheets breathe for at least an hour. Sunlight and air circulation whisked away overnight moisture and body heat, keeping the mattress dry for fresh and free from musty odors. Some even opened windows beside the bed to let crisp morning air sweep through. Without airing out, trapped warmth and moisture could attract dust mites and mildew. Housewives knew that a dry bed was a healthy bed long before science confirmed it. This small, daily act kept their homes smelling clean and their families sleeping soundly. Simple, smart, and timeless. The next trick takes that same love of fresh air and turns it into a morning ritual for the whole house. Purifiers and sprays promised freshness. 1950s homemakers had the real deal. Morning air. At dawn, they'd fling open windows in every room, letting the crisp air rush through and sweep away the stale stillness of night. It wasn't just about cooling the house, it was about renewal. That early breeze carried away odors, lightened the air, and seemed to wake the home itself. The sudden chill cleared humidity, chased off dust, and left everything smelling clean, alive, and honest. Even on cold mornings, they believed nothing replaced that breath of fresh air. It set the tone for the day, pure, simple, and bright. Try it once and you'll feel the difference. But for those women, freshness didn't stop at air. It followed them through every room, tucked neatly inside a single basket. Thinker had a secret weapon that rarely left her side, the tidy basket. A small woven caddy filled with cloths, polish, sewing thread, and the tools of quiet perfection. She'd carry it from room to room, tidying as she went, straightening a pillow here, dusting a shelf there, repairing what others wouldn't notice. It was efficiency made elegant, a moving toolkit of order and pride. The tidy basket meant no clutter piled up, no chore left waiting. A loose button was fixed before dinner. A scuffed chair shined before guests arrived. Her home never fell behind because care was constant. It was discipline disguised as grace. And just when every room gleamed, her next challenge waited, making metal sparkle like the morning sun. As homemakers, chrome wasn't just metal, it was a reflection of care. Faucets, handles, and towel bars gleamed so bright you could see your smile in them. The trick? A touch of baking soda and a rub with wax paper or vinegar. The result was mirror-shine brilliance that resisted water spots and fingerprints. They didn't need expensive sprays, just simple chemistry and consistency. Polishing chrome became a daily act of quiet triumph, proof that pride lived even in the smallest corners. Each glint caught the morning light, whispering of diligence and devotion. To them, clean wasn't enough. It had to shine. But their next secret was far from glamorous. It involved boiling water, elbow grease, and a war against kitchen odor. It wasn't pleasant, but it was sacred. Once a week, every 1950s homemaker scalded the garbage pail. She'd pour in boiling water mixed with soap or vinegar, scrubbing until even the metal gleamed. No sprays, no deodorants, just heat, effort, and pride. This ritual kept pests away, erased odors, and turned sanitation into an act of devotion. Housewives didn't wait for things to smell bad. They prevented it. The sharp scent of clean steam meant the home was protected, cared for, safe. It was a kind of domestic armor, forged from common sense and persistence. That pail, drying in the sun, stood as proof that every corner mattered. And once it shone again, they turned their attention to beauty, the soft, fluttering kind that danced in the windows. When spring came, every 1950s homemaker had one unmistakable ritual: washing the curtains. Down came every panel, washed by hand or in the wringer washer, line-dried until the breeze left them soft and sun-scented. It wasn't just about cleanliness, it was renewal. Dust, smoke, and winter air were whisked away, replaced by lightness and pride. Fresh curtains transformed a room, making it brighter, calmer, alive again. Housewives knew that when the windows sparkled and the fabric swayed in the wind, the entire home felt new. This wasn't cleaning, it was ceremony. Every fold hung straight, every stitch smoothed with care. And once the sunlight poured through that perfect fabric again, there was only one thing left to tackle: the forgotten corners hiding behind heavy furniture. Corner counted in a 1950s home, especially the ones no one saw. Once a week, housewives moved chairs, tables, even sofas to dust behind them. It wasn't optional, it was essential. They believed hidden dust was the root of bad air, dull energy, and disorganization. A soft rag, a few drops of lemon oil, and their homes gleamed from wall to wall. It was discipline disguised as devotion, a standard that kept rooms fresh and spirits high. No cobweb dared linger under their watch. This kind of care didn't come from obligation. It came from pride. And when the furniture slid back into place, they stood in quiet satisfaction, knowing no speck had survived. But their next task? It reached even higher, straight up to the ceilings themselves. Vacuums had attachments for everything. Homemakers used soft brooms or long-handled brushes to clean their ceilings and walls. Once a month, they'd sweep away dust, cobwebs, and soot, removing what most people never even noticed. It was a light dance of movement, graceful and rhythmic, leaving surfaces fresh and bright. This wasn't just vanity, it kept paint and plaster from dulling over time. Even wallpaper seemed to breathe easier after a gentle brushing. Housewives treated their homes like living things, keeping them healthy, not just tidy. The effort was quiet, steady, and oddly satisfying. When the light caught those clean walls, the whole house seemed taller, but soon attention would shift to something lower, smaller, and often overlooked: the humble baseboards beneath it all. Makers knew that beauty was in the details, especially the ones closest to the floor. Every few weeks they'd kneel with a rag, warm, soapy water, and patience, wiping baseboards and trim until they gleamed. Dust loved to settle there, dulling the edges of even the tidiest room. A few minutes of care restored the crisp lines, the subtle contrast, the sense of polish. Some added a hint of wax to make future cleaning easier. It wasn't drudgery, it was quiet craftsmanship. Clean trim framed their homes like perfect picture borders, making every wall, every floor, feel deliberate. The satisfaction was instant, the result unmistakable. And once the last board shone, they turned toward a far colder task, the one hiding inside the room before frost-free fridges and filters. Homemakers treated refrigerator care like a weekly ritual. Every shelf came out wiped clean and dried. A mix of baking soda and warm water erased odors and kept food tasting true. They knew that cleanliness inside meant freshness everywhere. It wasn't just about looks, it was about health. A spotless fridge spoke of discipline, responsibility, and love for the family's well-being. Even the smallest crumb or spill was whisked away with pride. The scent of clean, cold air was victory in its purest form. It was a task that set the rhythm for the week, marking the home as truly cared for. But when the scrubbing ended, the next ritual called them outdoors, where sunshine met freshly washed linen. There's something timeless about clothes swaying in the wind, and 1950s housewives knew it well. Every wash day, they'd hang laundry outdoors, shirts, linens, even delicate lace, to dry in the sun. The fresh air left everything soft and sweet-smelling, without a hint of electricity or dryer sheets. The sun's ultraviolet light naturally bleached whites, while the breeze lifted away detergent residue. Housewives didn't just dry clothes, they let nature finish the job with grace. Neighbors could tell who was washing by the rhythmic dance of laundry on the line, a quiet chorus of domestic pride. It was slow, deliberate, and deeply satisfying. The reward: crisp sheets and the scent of sunlight. But once the laundry was done, the real artistry began, transforming those fresh fabrics into something picture-perfect. It wasn't a chore in the 1950s. It was a craft. Housewives took pride in smoothing every wrinkle from their freshly washed curtains and linens until they fell in perfect folds. Steam hissed, starch crackled, and order returned with every pass of the iron. It wasn't just about appearance, it was about presence. Smooth, pressed fabric spoke of care and respect for the home. Even a simple tablecloth looked regal once pressed and laid. This daily ritual was an act of love disguised as labor, and the sight of a neatly ironed home spoke volumes. The shine, the scent, the symmetry, it all built a sense of calm. But their next task wasn't about fabric, it was about beauty, and how even nature found its place indoors. In the 1950s, no home felt complete without fresh flowers. Every week, housewives would visit the market or garden, choosing blooms by scent, color, and mood. A vase of daisies on the windowsill or roses on the table wasn't luxury, it was life. Flowers refreshed the air, softened the space, and brought a touch of nature's rhythm indoors. Wilted stems were replaced without hesitation. Freshness was a promise. The simple act of arranging petals became an art of mood and memory. Guests could read a home's spirit by its flowers, bright for joy, soft for serenity. These weren't decorations, they were messages. A home with flowers was a home alive. But after the beauty came structure again, order restored daily with the ritual that defined mid-century grace. Table fit for Sunday dinner, every single day. For 1950s housewives, this was routine. Even on ordinary evenings, the dining table gleamed with proper plates, polished cutlery, and folded napkins. It wasn't about showing off. It was about self-respect and family unity. Mealtime felt special because it looked special. The ritual taught patience, gratitude, and the art of slowing down. Every meal was a small celebration of togetherness. Housewives understood something we've mostly forgotten, that order brings peace, and presentation turns the mundane into memory. When dinner ended, they cleared, folded, and reset, preparing the next day's calm before chaos returned. But when the plates were polished and the chairs pushed in, their next act of care extended beyond the dining room, straight into the bedroom. Feel as deliberate as the 1950s mattress flip. Every few weeks, homemakers stripped the bed, vacuumed the mattress, and turned it over to keep it even and fresh. It was maintenance with meaning, an act that extended comfort and care. The vacuum whisked away dust and debris, while the flip kept the mattress firm and balanced. It was slow, satisfying work that promised sweeter sleep. Housewives believed a well-tended bed meant a well-rested family. The smell of clean fabric, the soft hum of the vacuum, it was domestic harmony in motion. Their diligence wasn't just about cleanliness. It was about continuity, the rhythm of care that never stopped. And after the bed was done, they turned their energy outward, to the rugs that bore the week's story. Saturday mornings in the 1950s echoed with a steady thump, the sound of rugs being beaten outdoors. Housewives would drag them into the sunshine, hang them over a sturdy line or railing, and strike them with a woven rug beater until the dust of the week lifted into the air. It wasn't just cleaning, it was release. Each strike sent a puff of gray swirling away, leaving color and pattern reborn beneath the sunlight. The fresh outdoor air neutralized odors that no vacuum could touch. By the end, the rug looked brighter, smelled cleaner, and somehow the home felt lighter too. It was catharsis, not just maintenance. And when the rugs were rolled back inside, soft and renewed, there was one more place to chase the dust, up where the light shone brightest. In the 1950s, even the ceiling sparkled. Once a week, housewives climbed step stools to dust lampshades, bulbs, and chandeliers, places many today barely glance at. They used lint-free cloths and sometimes a touch of vinegar, restoring the glow that dull dust stole away. It wasn't vanity, it was atmosphere. Clean fixtures made rooms brighter, literally and emotionally. A shining light made the simplest space feel fresh and alive. To them, illumination symbolized care, proof that no corner was neglected. The difference was subtle yet profound, a warm glow that whispered, "This home is loved." When the last bulb gleamed, they'd climb down, satisfied but never idle, because the next task was one of elegance, turning wooden furniture into something that gleamed like satin. 1950s homes smelled faintly of beeswax and lemon, Because polishing day was sacred, every piece of wooden furniture was wiped clean and massaged with polish until it shone. Housewives used soft rags, circular strokes, and patience, knowing that each pass deepened the wood's warmth and preserved its beauty. The gleam wasn't just decorative, it was protective. Wax sealed out moisture and wear, keeping tables and dressers pristine for decades. This slow, careful ritual turned furniture care into something close to meditation. The reflection in a polished table was more than shine, it was pride made visible. Guests would see that glow and know this was a home tended with devotion. And after the furniture was finished, their attention turned to the very floor beneath their feet. Synthetic cleaners promised miracles. 1950s housewives relied on wax and elbow grease. After every thorough mopping, they'd apply a thin layer of liquid wax, buffing it until the floor glowed with a gentle sheen. The result was not just beauty, but durability. Wax sealed the wood, repelled dirt, and gave each step a soft, satisfying luster. In those shining floors, you could see the reflection of order and pride. Children learned not to run on wax day, and visitors noticed the gleam immediately. It wasn't about luxury, it was about legacy, keeping things beautiful for the long run. That subtle shine spoke louder than words. And when the last board gleamed, there was one final place to purify, the heart of. In the 1950s, a clean hearth meant a clean heart. Once a season, homemakers scrubbed their fireplaces and arranged for the chimney to be swept, ensuring safety and beauty in equal measure. Ash was cleared, soot polished away, and the scent of wood lingered like memory. They knew a well-tended fire burned brighter and cleaner. It wasn't just maintenance, it was ritual, the preservation of warmth and family gathering. The crackle of fresh logs afterward felt like reward for their effort. Housewives understood that a home wasn't alive unless its hearth was cared for. When the embers finally glowed again, soft and steady, the house seemed to exhale. But even as the fire settled, their next ritual called, one that began every morning with perfect precision and pride. In the 1950s, every morning began with purpose. Before coffee, before breakfast, the bed came first. Sheets were stretched tight, corners tucked crisp, and pillows fluffed until perfection returned. It wasn't just about tidiness, it was discipline, a mindset carried into the rest of the day. Mid-century homemakers believed a neat bed set the rhythm for order and calm, no matter what followed. That smooth surface meant the day had started right. That life, however chaotic, could be contained within clean lines and effort. Even on difficult mornings, that single act restored control. And when the room looked serene once again, it was as though the world itself had settled. But beyond the bedroom walls, another ritual waited, the quiet sweep that signaled the day's true end. In a 1950s neighborhood, you could hear the soft rasp of brooms across porches. Women stepped out into the twilight, apron strings fluttering, brushing away leaves, dust, and the day's footprints. It wasn't just cleaning, it was closure. The porch was the home's handshake to the world, and it had to look cared for. A swept porch spoke of pride, respect, and readiness for tomorrow. The motion was steady, soothing, an act that grounded the day before darkness fell. Some would even sprinkle water to settle the dust, watching it glisten under the porch light. And when the steps were spotless and still, the night felt calmer somehow. Yet even as the outside quieted, there was another small ritual indoors, one that began with a humble kitchen cloth. These housewives treated their kitchens like laboratories of cleanliness. After every meal, they'd rinse dishcloths in steaming water with soap or a splash of vinegar, wringing them tight and hanging them neatly to dry. It was habit born from wisdom. Damp cloths bred odors and bacteria faster than anyone realized. Housewives of the era understood that a fresh kitchen began with the smallest tools. The scent of clean cotton and soap lingered long after the dishes were done. It was a ritual of renewal, one that protected health as much as it maintained order. To them, a tidy sink meant a tidy spirit. When that cloth hung motionless in the cool night air, it was a quiet badge of diligence. And once the kitchen rested, attention turned to the heart of the home itself. Televisions filled the evening. Mid-century homemakers had their own nightly ritual, tidying the living room. They'd fold blankets, straighten lampshades, and gather books left scattered from the day. The hum of order replaced the noise of clutter. It wasn't about show, it was serenity restored. A clean living room meant the family would wake to calm instead of chaos. Housewives believed that care shown at night shaped the mood of the morning. With each cushion fluffed and corner cleared, they brought peace back into their homes. It was quiet grace disguised as habit. When they finally turned off the lamp, the room seemed to exhale. But peace didn't end there. Next came planning, the hidden secret behind every perfect. In the postwar 1950s, homemakers ran their kitchens like mission control. Each week, they sat at the table with pen, paper, and pantry lists, mapping out meals with precision. It wasn't just about feeding a family. It was about thrift, balance, and preparation. Shelves were checked, jars refilled, and ingredients rotated to prevent waste. Housewives took pride in knowing exactly what they had and how far it could go. This was budgeting turned to art. Foresight turned to peace of mind. The soft scratch of pencil on paper meant the week ahead was already in order. With every planned meal came the comfort of certainty, a kind of domestic mastery few could match. And when the list was folded and tucked away, their next step awaited in the crisp, fragrant aisles of the market. Today, every trip to the market ended the same way, at the sink. Housewives would rinse apples, lettuce, and grapes in cool water with a splash of vinegar before tucking them neatly into the icebox. It wasn't just about cleanliness, it was care. Removing dust, residue, and hidden bugs kept food fresher for days longer. Mid-century homemakers didn't trust appearances. They trusted process. The rhythmic sound of rinsing and drying filled kitchens with quiet diligence. Produce was more than groceries. It was nourishment protected by habit. Each fruit gleamed with pride, ready for a week of family meals. And when the last apple shone beneath the kitchen light, another early morning ritual was already on her mind, one that began long before the sun came up. Mornings often began before dawn. Housewives of the 1950s rose early to prepare breakfast before their husbands left for work, eggs sizzling, coffee percolating, toast browning just as footsteps hit the stairs. It wasn't duty. It was devotion disguised as rhythm. These early rituals set the tone for the day. Warmth, steadiness, and care before the rush began. The scent of bacon and brewed coffee filled the air like a quiet promise. Home was steady, no matter what waited outside. Even after the door shut and silence returned, the kitchen still carried that comforting hum. It was love, lived through action. And once breakfast faded to memory, the homemaker's gaze turned to another sign of renewal, the crisp change of something small yet essential. It was a constant pursuit in the mid-century home. Every few days, towels were swapped out and soap replaced, small acts that made a home feel new again. The linen closet smelled faintly of lavender and starch, each neatly folded towel waiting its turn. Housewives knew that clean fabric and fresh fragrance lifted more than appearances. They lifted moods. Guests would notice, but more importantly, families did too. These details whispered care into the ordinary, transforming the daily routine into quiet luxury. The bathroom wasn't merely functional, it was a sanctuary of scent and softness. With every fresh towel hung, the day felt reset. But after the linens came another task, one that faced the messiest place in the house with determination and pride. A spotless stove was the badge of a good homemaker. After each week of roasts, pies, and frying pans, the oven was scrubbed by hand. No self-cleaning setting, no shortcuts. Housewives mixed baking soda and vinegar into a gritty paste, scouring until the metal shone. It was messy, sweaty work, but they did it religiously. A clean stove wasn't just about hygiene. It was respect for the craft of cooking. Grease and grime had no place in a kitchen that fed love 3 times a day. The smell of soap and steel meant progress, pride, and patience. When that final shine appeared, it reflected more than effort. It reflected discipline. And when the kitchen gleamed again, it was time to let the whole home breathe once more. Every season, mid-century homemakers threw open every door and window, letting wind chase through hallways and sunlight sweep into corners untouched by winter or heat. It was called airing the house, and it felt almost spiritual. Curtains fluttered, rugs lifted slightly, and the whole home exhaled months of stillness. The scent of polish, soap, and wind mingled into something unmistakably alive. This wasn't just cleaning, it was renewal. It marked a new chapter, a reset, a moment when the house itself seemed to stretch and sigh. Housewives of that era believed a home could grow tired if it never breathed. And when the air settled again, rooms glowed with quiet freshness, as if time itself had been dusted off and set right once more. They didn't have gadgets, shortcuts, or endless how-to guides, just instinct, pride, and rhythm. Every sweep, shine, and rinse carried meaning. Back in the day, homekeeping wasn't about perfection. It was about love made visible. Those women built peace from routine, beauty from effort, and comfort from care. Maybe it's time we remembered their way and let our homes breathe again.